Welcome to CINEPRO, where we bring your favorite movies back to life with quick recaps, hidden details, and everything you missed. At the beginning of our story, we find a surgeon named Dr. Kirill who is performing heart surgery on a patient. Suddenly, a spider appears in the operating room. As soon as Kirill sees it, he gets startled. His hands start to tremble, and he almost injures the patient's heart. Then he steps on the spider and yells at his assistant for not properly sterilizing the operating room. When he lifts his foot, he finds that the spider is gone and is very surprised. At that moment, he feels dizzy, so he leaves the room to rest. After washing his face, he immediately loses consciousness. Since he is a surgeon, he understands that he shouldn't ignore what happened. He starts examining his body, but to his shock, he discovers a large tumor in his head. His colleagues tell him that it's a very serious condition, and most of the time it comes with hallucinations, making him see and hear things that aren't real. This explains the spider he saw during the surgery. Kirill knows it's impossible to remove the tumor from his head, and all he can do now is wait until he dies. One of his colleagues tells him a secret. There is a nearby hospital that can treat his condition. At first, Kirill thinks it's a scam to take his money and says he'd rather spend his savings enjoying his last few days. But the sudden hallucinations make it impossible for him to focus on anything. Even when he tries to rest, he feels a headache. He realizes he needs something to give him hope to live. So he looks up the hospital's address, takes his car at night, and goes to this mysterious hospital with his friend. Strangely, the guard doesn't ask them any questions as they enter. All he does is scan them with a device and take their phones. Then they reach a tall building. After his friend registers at reception, he leaves Kirill in the waiting room and goes to the office. While Kirill is sitting, he gets a severe headache and finds a short-haired girl sitting next to him. She tells him that she's also there for treatment and that she has a tumor too. Both of them are living through the same very difficult situation. Kirill doesn't comfort her or say a word. Instead, he gets up and goes to the bathroom. As he passes by the reception desk, he vomits, and the people around him are disgusted by him. Suddenly, someone falls to the ground and covers the spot so it doesn't get dirtier. Several cleaners come and clean the area around Kirill as if he is a source of infection. Luckily, his friend comes and saves him from this embarrassing situation. Kirill is upset because he feels the hospital doesn't treat its patients with respect. When he enters the examination room, the doctor tells him he needs to do the tests again because this time they will be different. She then brings a plastic bag and puts it on Kirill. When he looks at the bag, he finds a small bone inside. The doctor doesn't explain anything but reminds him not to move the bag during the examination. After that, she keeps asking him many questions, trying to learn every detail about the patient. This makes Kirill suspicious of them, and when he gets fed up, he removes the bag with the bone from himself. At that moment, he notices the room's light changes, and he hears whispers in his ears, as if something is trying to enter through the surrounding walls. As soon as the doctor notices, she yells at Kirill to put the bag back quickly. After he does so, everything returns to normal, but Kirill loses consciousness. When the other doctor looks at Kirill, he is surprised and tells the hospital director, Irina, that there is something unique inside Kirill's body that could help them. After Kirill wakes up, the doctor offers him to join the hospital, and they will treat his illness. In the next scene, he enters a room and finds another person there. At night, Kirill is surprised to see insects in the IV fluids connected to his body, but the man with him tells him the insects will disappear when he rests. The next day, he wakes up feeling better. On his way out, he meets the short-haired girl and reassures her. Then he meets Irina, who tells him he will have a major surgery soon. After she leaves, he becomes more suspicious of the hospital because he knows the girl's condition is very difficult to treat, but the hospital is still going to operate on her. He goes back to check on the girl, but the guards stop him. When we see the girl in the operating room, we find the doctors attaching strange things to her. Stranger still, the medical tubes in the doctor's hand bend on their own, and the fluid starts to dissolve. Even the coffee in the corridor mysteriously pours out on its own. Suddenly, the girl's eyes turn black, and the doctors around her fall one after another, as do the people in the corridor. Only Kirill remains standing. Suddenly, he feels pain in his head and that the girl is calling H. The girl is calling him. Black fluid appears and approaches him. At that moment, the doctor comes and removes a black mass from the girl's brain. After that, everything returns to normal, and the girl smiles at the doctor through the window. After Kirill wakes up, he hears that the tumor in the girl's brain has been removed. When he talks to the doctor and tells him what he saw, the doctor tells him he will see many things he won't understand. but after working with them for a while, he will understand everything on his own. The next day, he signs his employment papers at the hospital and starts working under Irina. He learns that he will be responsible for treating difficult cases, but the first thing they plan to do is remove his tumor. Irina tells him the operation will happen soon. In the next scene, two people come in and inject Kirill with a shot in his back, drawing out some fluid. When he asks what it is, Irina tells him it will improve his condition, but it doesn't have to cure it. She changes the subject and tells him to get ready to treat his first patient, who suffers from sleep paralysis. When she sleeps, she can't wake up on her own, and even when she regains consciousness, her body still can't move. When Kirill talks to the doctor about this case, she sends him to the archive. There, he finds records of a lot of information no one has heard of. As he flips through them, he finds drawings of demonic creatures and realizes that this hospital is not a modern hospital based on science. According to the hospital system, the first thing they do for a patient is a full examination, and they put a bag on their body with a bone. Here, Anya explains to him that this is like a protection talisman. Now the patient is in a magnetic environment. The demon inside him may wake up, but without the talisman, the demon will cause a lot of problems. As for the questions they ask, these are to determine whether the person's thoughts are controlled by the demon or not. Then Irina tells them that the patient has two types of entities inside her. Since Kirill is not used to this system, as a doctor, he refuses to accept this method and tries to use his medical approach. He gives the patient a sedative to monitor her brainwaves, but suddenly they find her starting to move strangely, and the brainwaves show her brain is in a very bad state. Anya, seeing this, shuts off the devices, and then the patient wakes up, but her body does not move. This is due to intense excitement that happened while she was asleep, and Kirill thinks he has found the treatment method. But Irina yells at him because he acts on his own, and when the patient comes in, she finds bruises on her body and understands that the illness has reached its final stage. Normally, they would have been able to remove the tumor easily, but now the situation has become very difficult. Here we learn that Irina hid something from Carol, and we understand that the brainwave scan was actually an image of the creature inside the patient. If they remove the gallbladder at that point, she will fall into a coma, which will immediately cause her death. On the other hand, Carol loses hope in the treatment he's used to. When he goes back to the archives to look for records related to this case, he finds a lot of information about the subject. He learns that these creatures belong to a type called ND2, and they represent a high level of danger. When Carol asks about the danger levels, Anya explains to him that the hospital's founder recorded many diseases with medically undetermined causes and listed them as viruses. At that time, the founder decided to divide these forces into three main groups. According to him, these forces can cause mild illnesses in the body. The second type, however, causes serious diseases, putting the patient's life in danger. As for the third type, the only advice he gives is to stay away from them as much as possible. Here we discover that on Carol's first day, he was classified as type ND1. Irina suggested several times that they get rid of him, but the doctor refused. When Krill reads about the second type, he knows that this creature is formed according to the patient's psychological state and can increase the hormones in the human body and make them live very difficult nightmares. And the only way to prevent this is to remove the fluid in the gallbladder to control it better. And Anya tells him that she learned from Irina that the patient's condition has reached a critical stage and they will not be able to save her. And this is because of him. When Carol goes to get a drink, he finds a strange barrel and the water refuses to come out. Then it spreads into the air and approaches him as if it's about to attack. Luckily, Anya arrives at that moment and saves him. She explains that this is the ND3 type, which they extracted from demons and patients' bodies. They keep them in bottles and barrels so they don't cause any illnesses. At that point, Carl tells her he found a way to treat the patient, but this time he doesn't act recklessly and asks the doctor's opinion. He suggests trapping the demon in a crystal inside the patient. Suddenly, they hear an alarm and learn that the patient has gone into shock. They decide to perform the operation immediately. The doctors prepare and enter the operating room. As soon as they start, they see a red light appear around them, swirling around the mirrors. The demon inside the patient appears, but suddenly turns into black smoke and disappears. We understand that Anya was able to remove the stone the demon was connected to and wrapped it in a bag to contain it. On the other side, Carol finds Irina upset with him. Instead of thanking him, she assigns him another task. This time, Carol doesn't act on his own and strictly follows hospital procedures. During the examination, he finds that the patient hates the child she's carrying and tears the bag containing the bone. At that point, Dr. Baldi says this is an ND2 type. Anya then tells Carol that if he reads the records, he'll be able to identify the type quickly like Baldi. He learns that this type causes great pain to both mother and child, and the way to remove it requires severing the connection after birth, which will cause significant harm to the child. When the council discusses this problem, they can't find a suitable treatment plan. The doctor tells them they will resort to negotiation, which Carol doesn't understand. While talking to the patient, he realizes the demon has taken control of her and tells him to leave the hospital because it's not suitable for him at all. Then they take the patient to a room, and the doctors gather and put their hands on her stomach. Suddenly, the demon pushes them away. The doctor begins negotiations and learns that the demon wants to kill the mother and child. The doctor points to Carol and tells him he will never allow this to happen. At that moment, the demon feels something strange, and Carol changes his approach, saying he will take the life of one of them, either the mother or the child. After that, the place returns to normal, and Carol tries to understand what made the demon back down like that. After the mother decides to save the child, they return to the operating room. Carol decides to save both. Suddenly, he injects her with anesthesia and decides to save the child first, then figure out how to save her. But at that moment, the demon wakes up and tells Carol to choose between them. Irina senses something is wrong and pulls Carol aside, telling him that if they don't fulfill their agreement, there will be serious consequences. At that moment, the assistant tells them the patient's heart has stopped. After they save the child, the mother wakes up and the color of the room changes. Carol finds himself in another dimension with the demon, who yells at him for breaking their agreement and threatens to kill the mother and her son. When Carol asks what the demon wants to leave them alone, the demon says if Carol comes with him, he won't harm anyone. When Carol asks why, the demon refuses to answer and says the doctor exchanged Carol's life for the patient's. At that time, in the operating room, Irina senses Carol is in trouble and tells Baldi to prepare the spell. She sits on the floor, says strange words, and puts a specific iron piece in Carol's hand. At that moment, Carol is making a deal with the demon, but suddenly the demon disappears. When he looks at his hand, he finds that iron piece. Immediately after, he wakes up in the real world, and Irina looks older and leaves the operating room silently. The patient and child wake up and are safe, but Carol remains suspicious. When he talks to the doctor and asks why the demon wanted him, the doctor senses something is wrong. At that moment, Carol takes out the iron piece, and as soon as the doctor sees the amulet, he gets angry, refuses to touch it, and throws it into the furnace to burn. When Carol goes to Irina to understand, she is still tired and tells him that this amulet restrains powerful demons and that the hospital founder brought it from outer space. Carol then understands why the demon disappeared, but doesn't understand why the doctor was afraid of it. When he talks to Irina, she pushes him away. But when he returns to his room, he tries to call his family using the phone of the man with him. At that moment, he gets caught, and Irina finds out he took pictures of many things, which could put the hospital in danger. She expels the man, even though he has an ND3 type disease, meaning he will suffer from his illness for the rest of his life. When the man returns to the office and finds Irina, she changes her attitude toward him and decides to transfer her fatigue to him. When Anya notices, she argues with her. Here we understand that everyone knows Irina has magical powers and can take energy from other people. From their conversation, we learn that Irina is Anya's mother and tells her that one day she will be like her, but Anya refuses to be like her at all. But the strange people in the hospital are not just Irina and the doctor. After Anya finishes her shift, she discovers that one of her patients has died and needs to transfer the body to the morgue immediately, because the people here have all kinds of different demons inside them as they walk around. By the corpse, near the red zone, they stop. Suddenly, a woman comes from the end of the corridor, and she tells Anya to leave the corpse with them. But Anya wants to ask more questions, so she accidentally steps into the red zone and falls. The woman helps her up, and here we understand that this woman is the only one who can enter and exit the morgue. And although Kirill doesn't see all these strange events, he feels he is in a strange environment, full of ghosts and spirits. After examining a normal case, he asks if the hospital treats ordinary cases as well. Anya explains that the hospital relies on certain clients, and they also have people who bring them clients, like his colleague in the old hospital. But those people don't have abilities, so it's normal for them to bring ordinary cases from time to time. At that moment, they hear a voice saying that Irina is about to conduct an experiment and everyone must be in their place. Then the HR manager comes and takes the two of them to an isolated room and locks them in from the outside. Anya explains to Kirill that in this experiment they transfer demonic power from a patient to another person, and they need absolute silence. At that moment, Kirill takes the opportunity and asks Anya about Irina and the doctor. She tells him that the founder managed to develop a way to deal with dangerous types of demons in order to communicate with the cases and negotiate. But all this, of course, came at a great price. For example, Irina can maintain her eternal health, but she has to absorb life force from other people. The doctor and the woman in the morgue also have demonic powers, so Kirill asks her if he is also considered like them. Anya tells him it's possible, and that his ability is that he can enter and exit the dimensions of demons. After the experiment, Kirill is curious to see how this process is done. We see Irina enter with the corpse of the patient who has the ND1 disease. She's about to transfer the disease to the corpse and assures the patient that the operation will succeed as long as the corpse is stable. When they start the procedure, problems occur and they have to stop. When Irina comes out, she finds Kirill in front of her, so she suggests he go to the demon and convince it to revive the corpse. She tells Kirill that if he completes this mission, he will be promoted. When Kirill asks about the doctor, she tells him that ever since he got close to the amulet, the wound in his hand has been spreading. Because of his age, he can no longer resist like before. She says this mission needs someone healthy. When he asks about the corpse, she tells him it's her biological father's, and that he was in a nursing home, and that this operation was originally to revive him. After Kirill agrees, he goes back to continue the operation and draws certain symbols on her father's body. In the next scene, Kirill finds himself in a strange place surrounded by a lot of smoke. When he enters the house in front of him, he finds an old man and his young daughter. No matter how hard he tries, he can't communicate with him. Suddenly, he finds himself at the hospital entrance and sees a demon locked inside. When he talks to it, the demon offers a deal. Bring him the doctor in exchange for reviving Irina's father. Here Kirill realizes that the demon inside the doctor is Lucifer, ruler of the demon world. At that time, Irina and the others try to save Kirill but find no vital signs. Then they realize he is dead. After moving him to the morgue, Kirill wakes up. Then he spits out a coin, which is the thing he was given for the exchange process. At that moment, Irina's father also wakes up. After he wakes up, she takes the pillow from under his head and kills him herself because it turns out he abused her and she wanted to take revenge on him. Then Kirill goes to the director and asks why he offered him a job at the hospital. The doctor says they need employees, so Kirill asks if he plans to train him and make him successful. The doctor says he wished Kirill would learn everything on his own, but unfortunately, that won't happen. Kirill throws the coin, and suddenly the director collapses as if struck by a force. After that, the HR manager follows instructions and transfers the doctor's body to the basement. Suddenly, they find a cage has formed, and when the doctor wakes up, his demonic power appears. When Kirill tries to understand what happened, Anya tells him the hospital's founder used to call people who made pacts with demons sorcerers. Although the doctor made a contract with Lucifer, he couldn't withstand the difficulties of being old and weak. He can't control his demonic power. Other demons will take advantage and attack him. This will make the demon inside him take over his consciousness. When any sorcerer reaches this stage, the hospital imprisons him. The only solution is either to kill them or find another body. Because the matter is difficult, Irina can't announce it. She tells the director he needs to rest because of the illness. She appoints bed, looking completely normal. Irina explains to the inspector that the hospital's founder made a pact to enforce hell's rules in the human world to prevent devils from harming people. This hospital was just a workplace, but to appear in this dimension, he needs to be connected to a human body to be in a strong state. Otherwise, devils will come, cause trouble, and take over. Now, after the doctor has grown old and weak, Lucifer needs a new body. The inspector asks if he is a suitable person. Irina tells him that no one would wish for Lucifer to choose them. He would have to make sacrifices. When the inspector asks her who would be suitable, she tells him it needs thought. Meanwhile, Kirill and Anya are treating another patient who has a problem. Whenever he sees food, the devils inside his hands eat it. Anya tells him he has a disease called ND2. While she's scoping the patient, the ceiling cracks, so they have to remove the tube from his mouth. When Kirill approaches the crack and finds black liquid, he smells it and hears whispering voices. He walks away, and suddenly the voice tells him to jump off the wall. But at that moment, Baldi comes and saves him. Afterwards, The hospital begins sterilizing every corner. When Kirill wakes up, he finds Anya crying because in the last operation, she made the devil's power increase, and now the patient can no longer control himself. Kirill tells them they need to perform an operation to isolate the devil's power in the patient's body, and if they delay, the patient will also lose his sight. After they enter the operating room, they begin, even though Anya is not present. And at that time, Anya faces a major crisis. Her mother comes and tells her not to worry about the patient. What matters is that she focuses on dealing with Lucifer, or else the hospital will be destroyed, and Kirill will collapse if he finds out. So she follows her mother to the operating room, and then they enter another dimension. Irina tells her they are the only ones who can save the hospital. Anya still doesn't know what they will do about Lucifer, and Irina tells her they will make a pact with him to gain strong powers, but in return, they must make a sacrifice, meaning they must give up the life of one of them. She gives her daughter a scalpel, pretending she will be the one to sacrifice herself, but Anya's hand trembles. On the other side, Kirill faces difficulties in the operation, but in the next scene, the patient wakes up, but learns the devil inside him hasn't been removed. But Kirill has placed a tube in his neck so the devil can eat and drink without any problems. Afterwards, Kirill goes to the doctor lying in bed. The doctor tells him that Lucifer will look for a new body, and Irina is the only one who can host him. But to do so, she will need to sacrifice the most precious thing in her life. At that moment, Kirill thinks of Anya. At that moment, Anya can't hurt her mother, but Irina decides to sacrifice her daughter and kills her. By the time Kirill arrives, Anya is already dead. Irina comes, saying she suffered the most from her daughter's death. When Kirill tries to take revenge, he finds he can't control the hand holding the scalpel, and it moves toward his neck against his will. But Irina doesn't kill him, only makes him lose consciousness. After a while, Irina takes her daughter's body to the morgue. Irina admits she killed her daughter, and they tell her she needs to rest because the tumor in her brain is making him hallucinating. The HR director comes and takes him outside. When the doctor visits him, he tells him that Irina had to do this so Lucifer would accept her and she could control the hospital system. As for the hatred he feels toward her, it's because of the devil inside him. He reminds him that the devil inside him is more dangerous than Lucifer. At that moment, Kirill can't accept the truth, but feels he will be able to get justice for Anya. While thinking about her, he hears an announcement about a new patient arriving. Everyone bows their heads when they see the patient. When Kirill sees the patient, he finds it is Anya. He is shocked and runs to her, but the HR director pulls him away and gives him the examination paper, telling him that the girl he sees as Anya is actually an old man. At night, Kirill keeps thinking about her, so he enters the man's room, even though he knows she isn't really Anya, but he keeps staring at her. Suddenly, the patient gets up and says he wants to tell him something on behalf of the Great One. He asks if he means Lucifer, but the patient says it's someone else he met before who helped Kirill. So he remembers the devil who gave him the coin, and it's probably Lucifer's enemy. He tells him that he wants to prevent Lucifer from finding a metal body, and since Kirill wants to save Anya, that means they are on the same side. So Kirill asks him if it's possible for Anya to come back, and at that moment the man nods. Yes. He tells, it's clear her illness is not only difficult, but she's a sorceress who made a pact with a demon. And Kirill learns that this woman can control people and raises the blood sugar of the man in front of her, causing him to collapse instantly. And he realizes she does this to support the power of the demons. Here, Kirill understands her case is more complicated than any other patient. At that time, the delegation arrives and Irina welcomes them. Of course, since they are from the Ministry of Health, they have to act strictly in their cold manner and insist on meeting the doctor himself. When they find him imprisoned, they try to release him, but when no one moves, one of them enters the cage himself. The doctor raises his hand and makes the man fly in the air. The HR manager intervenes and saves him, and the inspector understands the doctor is under demonic influence and decides to leave. Then they go to the examination room where Anya is examining the new patient. When the inspector arrives, he tries to understand what is special about this patient. Suddenly, the patient looks at him and twists his arm, causing him to hit his head. He decides to run the hospital himself, but Irina reminds him this requires someone with experience. But he tells her he suspects someone intentionally did this to the doctor, to take over the hospital. Then he finds the device moving toward him and it hits him, but even this doesn't make him change his mind. He tells Kirill he needs someone to help him. In return, he'll promote him and give him other privileges, like allowing him to use a mobile phone. At that moment, Kirill agrees. Then he goes to see the new patient. He says they shouldn't waste the hospital's resources on her, since she made a pact with a demon. When Kirill asks Irina's opinion, she gets upset that he's siding with the inspector. Even Anya disagrees with Kirill's betrayal. When the patient enters the operating room, Kirill gets ready and finds the inspector coming in with him, insisting on being present. Before they start, Kirill tells them that if the patient stops, then the devil she made a pact with will enter someone else's body. To ensure everyone's safety, he tells them that each person must take a specific anesthetic. After the inspector gets disgusted and leaves, Kirill tells the doctors that he intends to cure the patient completely. He takes her to the doctor, hoping he will use Lucifer's energy to suppress the devil inside the patient. But the doctor refuses to help, saying he is no longer a doctor. He tells Kirill that he also has a strong devil inside him and could ask for its help. So Kirill takes the patient to his room and removes the tumor from her brain. But the symptoms persist, and the patient starts trembling violently. The devil tries to take her in exchange for breaking their pact. At that moment, Kirill asks the devil inside him to help and says he agrees to any conditions. The patient calms down, but she can't see anything. At that moment, the inspector enters with his team and yells at Kirill and Anya for breaking the rules. But Kirill doesn't care because what matters to him is that the patient is finally cured. Afterwards, Anya asks him what the devil will make him do in return. He tells her that nothing is more important than a human life. Suddenly, he loses consciousness, thinking it's because of the devil. But when he wakes up, he learns that Anya inherited her mother's power and that she can kill people if she gets close to them, so it's better for them to keep their distance. But Kirill decides to find her a solution. In the next scene, we see the inspector coming to the hospital. After what happened to him, he's no longer as arrogant as before. He starts telling her that on a very ordinary day in the hospital, he found the cleaning lady standing in shock because of a crack in the floor. It turns out this is because Lucifer escaped. Then the receptionist finds a crack in the wall, and black liquid comes out of it. The hospital faces many incidents in a short period. Patients fall into comas, and doctors enter the operating room to treat patients from this strange black substance, using specific tools. All this while, the doctor who had Lucifer inside him is lying in him. It needs thought. Meanwhile, Kirill and Anya are treating another patient who has a problem. Whenever he sees food, the devils inside his hands eat it. Anya tells him he has a disease called ND2. While she's scoping the patient, the ceiling cracks, so they have to remove the tube from his mouth. When Kirill approaches the crack and finds black liquid, he smells it and hears whispering voices. He walks away, and suddenly the voice tells him to jump off the wall. But at that moment, Baldi comes and saves him. Afterwards, the hospital begins sterilizing every corner. When Kirill wakes up, he finds Anya crying because in the last operation, she made the devil's power increase, and now the patient can no longer control himself. Kirill tells them they need to perform an operation to isolate the devil's power in the patient's body, and if they delay, the patient will also lose his sight. After they enter the operating room, they begin, even though Anya is not present, and at that time, Anya faces a major crisis. Her mother comes and tells her not to worry about the patient. What matters is that she focuses on dealing with Lucifer, or else the hospital will be destroyed, and Kirill will collapse if he finds out. So she follows her mother to the operating room, and then they enter another dimension. Irina tells her they are the only ones who can save the hospital. Anya still doesn't know what they will do about Lucifer, and Irina tells her they will make a pact with him to gain strong powers. But in return, they must make a sacrifice, meaning they must give up the life of one of them. She gives her daughter a scalpel, pretending she will be the one to sacrifice herself, but Anya's hand trembles. On the other side, Kirill faces difficulties in the operation, but in the next scene, the patient wakes up, but learns the devil inside him hasn't been removed. But Kirill has placed a tube in his neck so the devil can eat and drink without any problems. Afterwards, Kirill goes to the doctor lying in bed. The doctor tells him that Lucifer will look for a new body, and Irina is the only one who can host him. But to do so, she will need to sacrifice the most precious thing in her life. At that moment, Kirill thinks of Anya. At that moment, Anya can't hurt her mother, but Irina decides to sacrifice her daughter and kills her. By the time Kirill arrives, Anya is already dead. Irina comes, saying she suffered the most from her daughter's death. When Kirill tries to take revenge, he finds he can't control the hand holding the scalpel, and it moves toward his neck against his will. But Irina doesn't kill him, only makes him lose consciousness. After a while, Irina takes her daughter's body to the morgue. Irina admits she killed her daughter, and they tell her she needs to rest because the tumor in her brain is making him hallucinating. The HR director comes and takes him outside. When the doctor visits him, he tells him that Irina had to do this so Lucifer would accept her and she could control the hospital system. As for the hatred he feels toward her, it's because of the devil inside him. He reminds him that the devil inside him is more dangerous than Lucifer. At that moment, Kirill can't accept the truth, but feels he will be able to get justice for Anya. While thinking about her, he hears an announcement about a new patient arriving. Everyone bows their heads when they see the patient. When Kirill sees the patient, he finds it is Anya. He is shocked and runs to her, but the HR director pulls him away and gives him the examination paper, telling him that the girl he sees as Anya is actually an old man. At night, Kirill keeps thinking about her, so he enters the man's room, even though he knows she isn't really Anya, but he keeps staring at her. Suddenly, the patient gets up and says he wants to tell him something on behalf of the Great One. He asks if he means Lucifer, but the patient says it's someone else he met before who helped Kirill, so he remembers the devil who gave him the coin, and it's probably Lucifer's enemy. He tells him that he wants to prevent Lucifer from finding a metal body, and since Kirill wants to save Anya, that means they are on the same side. So Kirill asks him if it's possible for Anya to come back, and at that moment the man nods yes. He tells him that the proposal will be agreed upon on the 9th day if Kirill signs a contract with the Great One. Before that, they will be able to confront Lucifer and save Anya. Kirill doesn't agree right away, but he feels the matter is up to him. So he goes to Baldi, who tells him that the only one who can confront Lucifer and save Anya is someone as strong as him. Kirill makes his decision and asks how to sign the contract. Baldi tells him that it has to be someone who is dead. Here Kirill asks if the doctor and Irina also signed the contracts and how they are still alive until now. Baldi tells him they are not their true selves